Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Magazine Live. I am your host, Q, coming to you yet again from my mother's basement on this lovely Friday morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are watching this. And I am, of course, joined by my co-host, P. How goes it, P?
It goes quite well. I destroyed a shirt last night with you on Meme Factory. I regret nothing, but I regret destroying that shirt a little bit because it was an awesome shirt. But I'm wearing a new shirt. This one does not have the nipples cut out, so we're good to go. This will be a PC conversation. Let's dive into it.
Yeah, in case you didn't get the opportunity to tune in last night, I was invited to join Meme Factory, and then, of course, P decided to crash the party and just cause an absolute chaotic scene. I believe we have a still image of P's nipples that we are going to show you later in this episode. So stick around for that. But until then, we're going to dive into some news and notes. I lied. I have to tell you guys some things. First, we have a new YouTube channel. We're done. P and I, it's over. Our run has come to an end. It's been wonderful to be with you guys. Psych, I'm just kidding. Because we put out too much content, we see that you guys don't really appreciate that. So we've gone ahead and made a new channel. All of our shorts. So like, I guess YouTube is trying to compete with TikTok, just like how Meta, Facebook, Instagram, whatever you want to call it, is also trying to compete with TikTok. And there's like a whole shorts thing going on with YouTube. So we just made a whole channel just for our shorts. It's going to be clips that you hear us say here, but like way smarter. Be sure to like and subscribe this stream, as well as hopping on over to our shorts channel and subscribing as well. And then, of course, goes without saying that tonight is the night the tickets for Bitcoin Amsterdam go up in price. Lock in your tickets now. Use promo code BMLive to get 10% off before ticket prices go up. You are not going to want to miss the biggest, baddest party in all of Europe land. Now let's dive into it.
Let's fucking go.
Friend of the show, Caitlin Long, is going toe-to-toe with the Fed. If you didn't have an opportunity to catch our conversation with Caitlin from 3 months ago, live on air, we broke the news with her that her company was going to go ahead and sue the Federal Reserve for their actions. This is an update on that, but it looks like Custodio Bank is suing the Fed for discriminating against cryptocurrency banks. 7 U.S. lawmakers have come out in support of this law. This is a step forward for this lawsuit that Custodia and Caitlin Long have put forward. Exciting step forward. Again, if you did not get an opportunity to catch our previous conversation with her, where we did have an opportunity to ask her about this, I highly recommend you hop on over after this stream is over, of course, and check out that interview. Chris, what is the craziest thing you saw this week?
Well, apparently poop is powering Bitcoin miners. What do I mean by this? According to Brains Mining, most people don't know this, but all of their electricity for their firmware testing facility is powered by animal manure. So they are running machines, testing out the firmware and various things there. And animal manure is actually powering the Bitcoin mining operations going there. Obviously, very small by comparison of what a lot of their company does. Their company obviously helps run, or used to be Slush Pool, now Brains Pool, and the firmware for those ASIC miners and stuff.
Feces are an excellent source of carbon to burn. There's a long sordid history, not even sordid, just a history of people burning, herbivorous poop in order to produce fires, cooking fires. It sounds fucking gross. I'm sure it tastes like ass, but I love the idea of taking this normal waste product and turning it into energy that is used to mine Bitcoin. It's fucking awesome. There should be more of it. I want to see poop-powered Bitcoin miners all over the world. I want one in every home, every kitchen, every bedroom. Let's fucking go.
Legitimate question, but how long until we can get a poop-powered combustible engine?
I mean, it is possible. It's you can do like biogas reactor-powered vehicles. That's totally a thing. So, I mean, you could do. You know what? You could do it tomorrow, Q. Why do you hate America? Why haven't you already done this?
The combination of seed oils that we see in Bitcoin Lake, as well as poop-powered miners, no waste will go unwasted.
New story we haven't talked about recently. There is a team in a Guatemalan lake town using used cooking. I'm kidding.
Read the story that would
Yeah,
not
that you guys already talked about. I mentioned yesterday as if like brand new breaking story.
This is
It
what
fucking-
happens when you just don't show up to work for a week, P.
I had shit to do,
What we
people to
talk
see,
about.
poop farms to start.
Leather to
My
prep.
body is a poop farm.
The people are asking in the chat, like, what is the update? Are you welching on the bet? I was even asked by Greg last night, and I had to fucking defend you. What's going on? When do we get to see you shove your mouth full of shoe leather?
Yeah, reasonable question. I'm so glad you asked. No, I am absolutely not welching on this bet. I mean, you know me. I will use any excuse to do something fucking insane that may have serious health consequences down the line. So no, I talked to several people about how to do this without killing myself in a 30-second time window. I've been going into like removing the rubber from the sole of the shoe, how to remove all the harmful chemicals that are used to cure the leather on the outside of the shoe. I will be demonstrating all these techniques probably next week and going through the process of rendering it down and then cooking it and then eating it on camera, because frankly, that's the commitment that we on this show have to you, the listener. You know, we make a promise, we're going to fucking keep it. So get ready, put me in your Deadpool, and, decide if I'm going to die of cancer within 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or whether I'm going to continue to live forever.
While you're on a roll, P, do you want to tell the people about their next story?
Yes. You mean the more pain in the market story? Crypto mining data center Compute North has filed for bankruptcy. The company CEO stepped down earlier this month, and its COO is now going to serve as president. Whenever you see a shakeup like this in a leadership team, it's never a good sign. It means something bad has happened. If there's a publicly traded company, the board is pissed. This has impact on a number of different entities, including Mara, Compass, High Blockchain, BitNile, and more. So it's a pretty interesting development. Q, I'm curious if you want to expound on this at all, go into some of the details here.
Yeah, I just want to list some of these companies that are going to be, whether or not their businesses are coming out and officially saying they will or will not be affected by this. I don't really care. These are the following companies that have some sort of affiliation with Compute North: Marathon, Compass Mining, LOL, Hive Blockchain, BitNile. We have Atlas Mining, Chinese crypto miner V9, Bit Digital, Sphere 3D, and I'm sure there are countless others as well. This is going to be a very interesting, potentially like overlapping event that, in the same way we saw how the unwinds of Luna and then Celsius impacted the price of Bitcoin, it'll be interesting to see how Bitcoin's hash rate and difficulty holds up with so many different Bitcoin miners affected or impacted by this bankruptcy.
Yeah. Marathon said in their public response to this, they said, based on the information available at the time, it is our understanding that this filing will not impact our current mining operations. We are in communications with the hosting provider and monitoring their progress as they work through the process. That is a bad sign. That is not saying, don't trip, dog, we got this covered. That's saying, it is our current understanding, which strongly implies that in the very near future, their understanding will change and then it will affect the things that are going on. We'll see what happens.
I just want to, only because I finished the book finally last night, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. And the last 2 chapters, literally all the character who's more or less narrating the main character of the story is explaining how to actually understand when a publicly traded company issues a statement through the media. And he very clearly explains how, yes, Larry Livermore in the book, but Jesse Livermore in real life. Shout out RVLVR. It talks about how there are certain ways that they will present information to the public so that you or I sees it. We are not struck by fear, so we don't panic sell, when in reality what they're doing is they're panic selling because they actually have the full story and information in front of them. And so they're going to try to keep you calm to hold the price at this level so they can dump the prices on you or other unbeknownst people and then act surprised in 6 months, to P's point, when they do change their minds and they're like, oh, actually, Compute North had a very significant impact on our business in Q3 and Q4. And as a result, we've had to downgrade our projections. Like, timestamp it. Tino, Andrea, mark my words. Remember the September 23rd episode when Marathon comes out and issues a statement in 6 months. We're going to roll this tape.
You know what we should do? You know, like this, I forget who it was we were talking about recently on Twitter, these accounts that basically just blast out like predictions and then they go back and they delete all their tweets and then they're like, I'm a fucking genius, buy my subscription service. You and I'm not even kidding. Let's record just like 30 minutes of us just saying the most insane shit. You know what I mean? Like, the world is flat. Giants hold it up on the back of a, mentally disabled turtle. And then we'll cut it up into little segments and then we can release them and be like, look, we timestamped it. We're doing that. But yeah, to your point,
you're not wrong. But Chris can vouch for me here.
Oh no, you've been
right.
There
are some crazy things I've said that have come to fruition.
You've been right way more than you've been wrong. To credit to you, that was not meant to be a like, you don't know what you're talking about, bro. No, you called several things. But this is like when you see a house that's like listed, and like if you're a real estate agent or you understand the real estate market, and there's like all these keywords in the listing that are like fixer upper, needs some love. And like anyone who knows anything about the real estate market will be like, oh, that means this is a shithole that is barely standing. It's the same kind of thing in these public offerings. They're designed to communicate this information to the people that need to know it without panicking the market. You're absolutely right, Q. Let's keep going.
You should make an outline, a quick thing. You should make an outline of like, we'll be, should not affect our business to our knowledge. And you're like, this means it affects their business. Like a little cheat sheet of like descripting, like, this is a panic word. This is like a good thing. This is like.
Hey, dude, honestly, that's not a bad idea. I might do that this weekend on Twitter when I'm just bored.
All right.
Let's, Chris, can we talk about Kraken?
Yes. So Kraken, the exchange that many people know, obviously Jesse Powell just stepped down. Kraken has no U.S. SEC registration plan, says incoming CEO. Kraken has no plan to delist tokens the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission has labeled as securities or to register with the agency as a market intermediary, said the incoming CEO, David Ripley, on Thursday, so just yesterday afternoon. I think this is kind of an interesting, strong stance by Kraken. Obviously, Kraken, I believe they're based out of Ireland, is technically where their LLC is. I know it is not in the States. This is very interesting because I think it's going to become push come to shove with like, KYC and AML laws. A lot of times back in the early 2000s, basically they were saying that they had to have, the U.S. was requiring countries that operate or do business with the United States to have strict KYC and anti-money laws, especially for banks and I forget what it's called, a broker-dealer license, basically. And obviously, ultimately, like 90%, 95% of people complied with these and obviously updated their restrictions on customers, U.S. customers abroad, with information about, what they're doing and what their dealings are. But with Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, I'd say like for more of the cypherpunk ethos, a lot of them have obviously rolled out like KYC and AML laws, but it's going to be very interesting if the SEC is like, hey, you're no longer allowed to list these. These are illegal securities. If Kraken says, screw you, we don't want U.S. clients anymore. Or if, they're just, it's going to be very interesting to see where it falls. That it's like, okay, we're losing our U.S. business, but we're still operating globally. And we're not going to adhere to many of these laws that the SEC is trying to pass. Ultimately, a lot of these countries do fall in line normally and push them to their citizens. So if that's the case, Kraken will most likely have to deal with them. But it's kind of like push is coming to shove, and we'll see what happens next. PQ, you guys got anything with that?
No, I love it. I need to interrupt, though. This is developing right now, but I guess Simply Bitcoin's YouTube channel was just taken down in the midst of them talking about a case.
Wait, Bitcoin's YouTube channel?
Simply Bitcoin.
Oh, wow.
YouTube, I'm reading from Nico's Twitter right now. YouTube pulled the Simply Bitcoin live stream today when we were making the case against central bank digital currencies.
Oh my gosh.
No fucking shit.
Hold on. Yeah. All right. That's big news.
The channel is still up, but today's stream is not.
Wow. All right.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Breaking story. Let's make sure to stay abreast of that. If we get more news while we're talking here today.
I want to just also say, as Chris and I firsthand dealt with this twice for Bitcoin Magazine. Literally, Chris, in the middle of a stream, as I'm talking, is messaging me just like, hey, by the way, we're no longer on YouTube right now. We're only streaming to Twitch. And then, of course, in the middle of the conference, this happened. We've seen this happen in prominent crypto and Bitcoin channels a lot. We at Bitcoin Magazine have the right connections, and we're able to, in both instances, get our channel back up and operating very quickly. Using a $2.6 million or 2.6 million follower Twitter account doesn't hurt. Having one of the executives from Block/Square at your conference doesn't hurt. Simply Bitcoin puts out some of the best signal out there. If you watch our show, you are aware and know them too. Make noise on Twitter, support them, because that's the only way YouTube will actually respond, is if enough people make noise against this action. This is an algorithm just making a decision. No human beings are behind this at YouTube. From what I've gathered in our two interactions with YouTube, no individual will ever take responsibility for this. However, they can and will reverse it if enough people stand up against it. So we stand with Simply Bitcoin. YouTube, stop censoring people for their opinions. This is America. We have freedom of speech protected by the First Amendment. We are not saying anything antagonistic. We are simply sharing facts and ideas.
Very well said. Very well said.
P, we have an update on Tornado Cash.
Speaking of censorship. So, the Tornado Cash sanctions that were instituted, rolled out recently were very crude and heavy-handed. For those that don't know, Tornado Cash is a privacy-enhancing tool that is built on the Ethereum network. Now, we are not fans of Ethereum. It's a fucking shitcoin scam, but there are aspects of the Tornado Cash implementation that are actually, from a technical perspective, very effective. Regardless, the most interesting thing here is that they were being sanctioned for supposedly empowering, OFAC blocked transactions and basically allowing people to circumvent. The claim was that they are allowing people to circumvent, U.S. sanctions and important strategic decisions that have been made. Now, these are all total bullshit for a number of reasons. You can look into it. There's a fantastic episode of Citadel Dispatch with Matt Odell, where they really go into some of the nuances of this. I believe it's with Shinobi and I think Rusty Russell, but please don't at me if I'm wrong there. Actually, fucking do at me. The point is, it was very heavy-handed, and people started immediately reacting and doing things like doing what are called dust attacks on very popular entities like Ashton Kutcher and all these famous people who have the publicly available Ethereum addresses. People were sending OFAC sanctioned Ethereum to those accounts. And because there's no such thing as coin control in Ethereum, this made these accounts basically fall under the aegis of like, these are now OFAC non-compliant, like fuck these people. So the powers that be released a set of clarifying guidelines around Tornado Cash. And one of those things was specifically saying, OFAC said that so one of the actions that was taken is GitHub, which is a website where people can host open source code repositories. And the Tornado Cash implementation was hosted on GitHub, the same way that Bitcoin Core is, and the various Lightning implementations that are open source and all that stuff. Tornado Cash was hosted on GitHub. GitHub saw the OFAC guidelines and was like, oh shit, and basically took down the Tornado Cash repository. And they're just doing their best as a corporate company to be kind of do right by the U.S. government. So OFAC clarified recently. They said U.S. persons would not be prohibited by U.S. sanctions regulations from copying the open source code and making it available online for others to view. So this was then flagged for GitHub, and recently they reactivated the GitHub repository, which is a positive thing overall. So props to GitHub, fuck OFAC, and let's fucking go.
I guess the one thing that I want to expand, I know that the guy who created Tornado Cash, the open source developer, is this Dutch man. I know he was taken into custody in the Netherlands in early August. I know that obviously with GitHub unbanning and stuff, I don't know where his case remains. Obviously, if he was taken into jail in early August, it's been about over a month and a half. I hope that his case gets settled and he does not have repercussions for just basically creating open free and open source software that it does not do any harm to anyone. So
yeah, this is like a tiny like positive thing in the story here. Tornado Cash is still a very important thing that we as Bitcoiners need to be tracking on, because it is the beginning of government sanctions against these privacy enhancing tools. And yeah, this is not like the war is won. We got to stay abreast of it.
definitely.
Chris, let's talk about some old man in some big White House.
Yeah, so the White House says environmental impact of producing cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin could impede U.S. efforts to combat climate change. So obviously, this is kind of like cherry picking out of the report that came out actually just last Friday, or was it 2 Fridays ago at this point? I'm losing track of time. And basically, in that very same report, they were saying, we just want to keep hammering home the narrative. They said in the very same report that actually Bitcoin can help, and proof of work mining can help hit their climate change goals by removing harmful methane from the environment through flare gas mining. So we've said multiple times on the show that, obviously Bitcoin mining removing methane is much more harmful than CO2 from an environmental standpoint. Dan Batten, friend of the show, known ESG person who thought he was going to research Bitcoin and thought it was bad for the environment, found actually quite the contrarian and quite the contrary. And he's been writing reports not just for Bitcoin Magazine, but just also his own personal research about how Bitcoin mining can aid this climate issue that we're having. So I think that this is very interesting that they keep pushing the narrative that Bitcoin and proof of work mining is bad, when quite the contrary, multiple people and multiple reports, as well as people from the Bitcoin Policy Institute, whether it's Troy Cross, Margot Paez, Matthew Pines, and a whole list of other people working there. They're doing great research about how Bitcoin is actually a net good for the environment and for people that use it and just the globe at large. Anything else you guys want to add?
I just want to reiterate something that you said that we talk about from time to time, is Dan Batten's journey through believing Bitcoin was bad, actually doing the work and his own research and thinking critically about it and not listening to the taglines. May more people follow Dan Batten's footsteps and see the light that is Bitcoin. Shall we? Let's go to the the final story for today.
Sorry, it's inappropriate.
I laugh, but it definitely wasn't. So we're going to follow up on a story we did talk about on News and Notes on Tuesday while P was still AWOL. Chris and I had the opportunity to discuss the protests going on in Iran. For context and background, a young lady named Mahsa Amini was killed by Iran's morality police after she was taken into custody for not wearing her hijab fully over her hair. This has since sparked a lot of protests all over the country. This is, in my opinion, vastly different than the 2009 protests the Green Revolution, where protesters took to the street after Ahmadinejad declared himself president yet again. Those protests were primarily younger Iranians and focused a lot more in Tehran. The protests in 2019 over the price of gas, again, was more focused in Tehran. In this iteration of these protests, and from conversations that I've been having with my parents, my family, the protests are all over the country. They're not just concentrated in one little part, and it's not some small subset. You're seeing in these videos women and men of all ages standing up against an oppressive government that for a long time they've been sick of. And I want to talk about some people that I'm quite frankly sick of. I'm not asking you to virtue signal. I'm not asking for your thoughts and prayers. I don't even need you to post or share. I want to share some things that we can actually do. While we don't have to concern ourselves with these things, that is a privilege that most of us didn't do much to earn. I won't stay on my high horse. What I believe is the fact that I was born in this country, but I didn't take any tests to become a citizen. I didn't fight in any wars to earn my freedom. I was just born here, and I have the privilege of the freedoms that have been granted to me. It was literally a lottery that I won to be American, plain and simple. For some reason, the American government and Iran's history with America seems to start in 1979 with the hostage crisis and the Iranian Revolution. In Iran, the history between the US and Iran starts in 1954 with the uprising and overthrowing of Mossadegh. Neither of these iterations are true. In fact, the intertwining history between these two nations goes as far back as the 1720s. And you have shades of Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin trying to insert certain things that they learned from the Persian Empire into this new country that they founded in the late 1700s. That's how deep the history between Iran and the US goes. These sanctions that Iran has been under are only placed under the Iranian government and people simply because the US and the West couldn't control the Iranian oil producers in the way they could control the oil producers in Qatar, the oil producers in the United Arab Emirates, the oil producers in Saudi Arabia. So while you may say they say death to America to us, I don't see a single person right now today saying that. I simply see people asking for their freedoms and rights. For whatever reason, the Biden administration has decided to sanction the morality police. This is just the most useless use of legislation I have ever seen in my life. You are sanctioning a subset of a government that is already sanctioned, that you do not interact with, that you have excluded from international trade. But this sanction, following, what was it, in 2019, Donald Trump sanctioned the Iranian Royal Guard as well, calling them a terrorist organization. These actions do nothing. They're just a virtue signal to make it seem to a certain subset of constituents, to Iranian Americans that are going to vote in a month and a half, that this government cares about Iran when it quite frankly doesn't. What can be done, President Biden, is you can respond to Elon Musk and Starlink's request for an exemption to allow internet access to be provided to the Iranian people. Because right now, the Iranian government controls and has shut down access to the internet. Now let's take ourselves out of America, and quite possibly the only political leader I think is worse than the political leaders we have in this country, Canada, Justin Trudeau. You, excuse my language, cocksucking piece of shit. I didn't forget when you rejected and revoked the visas of the Iranian soccer team 2 months ago for a friendly before the World Cup. You rejected their visas after your administration granted it. And you said it was a bad idea to let these Iranian soccer players into your country off the heels of a decision that was made by their government 2 years prior. Just a reminder, not a single one of these Iranian soccer players had anything to do with the Ukrainian airline flight getting shot down in winter of 2019. But they were punished. They were held accountable by you. And you have the audacity to send out a message saying you stand with people who peacefully protest? Sir, you didn't stand with your own citizens when they were peacefully protesting against you. I'm just sick of this. I'm sick of Iran being used as a chess piece by the rest of the world simply because they don't want to take shit from everyone else. No Bullshit Bitcoin sent out an excellent article that I've been circulating all over to friends and family. And it's essentially a how to run a Signal proxy. As we've mentioned, the internet has been shut off in Iran. It's spotty. The media is not covering any of this in Iran. I was talking to a family friend whose parents are out there right now in like a small rural town where my dad is also from. And he was saying nothing There is no coverage of this where they're staying. Mind you, they're staying in a town that has maybe 1,000 people living in it. There's not really anything going on. It's all the way up in the mountains. There's no coverage of this whatsoever by any Iranian media outlets. They are going to shut down the internet and they are going to mass kill people until you and I stop talking about it. And then they will just move on. We have to keep talking about it. And we have to put pressure on lawmakers to stop sending thoughts and prayers or just a bullshit tweet or sanctions against, the bad guy. Yeah. Joe Biden, you're as much the bad guy as the morality police. Justin Trudeau, you're as much the bad guy as the Iranian leadership. So I don't want to hear about the hypocrisy from the West who doesn't want to actually do something to help these people. You help them by releasing the sanctions so that Starlink can provide them internet. That is what we can do today, right now. I'm not telling you to send money the way the US has sent billions of dollars to Ukraine. I'm not asking you to send troops in the way the US did in Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm simply asking you to grant a private business the ability to give internet access to these citizens, a basic human right in the 21st century. Okay. That's my
well said. Well
my
said.
rant.
I don't know. I mean, I'm curious if you have any thoughts, Chris.
I don't know if I have anything else to add there. I think that was well done, Q.
Needless to say, this takes up a lot of my time, effort, and energy right now. I can confirm we did make contact with a group of our family members in Tehran today. I'm hopeful. I truly am hopeful. I'm watching these videos. Like I was brought to tears last night when I watched this one video of protesters chanting in Farsi, but I'll just translate it. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. We are all in this together. And it was so powerful because this is a regime that goes against the people, and people are very afraid to stand up or say anything against them. It is to put your life at risk is to stand up against this regime. And there is no fear in these people's eyes anymore or in their voice. There's only desperation. I truly hope that this will cause change and that people's freedoms and rights will be granted back to them. And I want to comment on something else because I see some mocking happening of videos of these protesters, and some of them are wearing masks. And people will laugh and say, really, you're going to get upset over being forced to wear a headscarf while you wear a mask. But that's the whole point. The whole point is the fact that they don't have to wear a mask. That is their choice. But they do have to wear the headscarf. So before you mock other people for their decisions, make sure you understand the limitations in which they have to live under. Okay, I'm done.
It's heavy stuff, man. I don't have anything material to add, but yeah, man, I've been thinking about you and your family, and we talked about this before, but kind of apropos of nothing, it is so interesting to me to see video and photos from Iran from like the 70s, like when it was just this bustling, thriving Dubai-like city. And I honestly had no idea that was the case. And the Iran that I have grown up hearing about and knowing about is such a, I would say a pale shadow of the bustling metropolitan center that that country used to be.
No, it's sad to say the least. And like I'm as guilty as most Iranian Americans of not really understanding the history that goes before the 1900s. And there are so many little things, like, for example, BP was originally called British Persian Petroleum. And there was a whole deal with Mossadegh the former prime minister of Iran that the US overthrew to reinsert the Shah, he stood up against the British because BP or BPP had an agreement with Iran saying that we will share this oil pipeline and the profits that go with it. And unfortunately, every single year when BP would submit, oh, this is how much we made to the Iranian government, it would only show losses, as though running an oil pipeline lost you money in the 50s. And of course, Mossadegh getting upset, being like, all right, you're fucking with me. So no, we break this deal and we're going to mine our own oil. So of course, what do the British do? They go ask the US for help and insert the Shah. Like there's so many interconnected pieces of this history that it's really sad to see that little squabbles from decades ago have rippled into tidal waves in present day. But yeah, okay. I'm dropping this officially for this moment.
No, I mean, I think it's super important, man. I know it's super close to home. I appreciate you giving us your thoughts and really kind of helping to educate me certainly on everything that's going on there. We've had a lot of conversations, off mic, obviously, about this. I think it's a super important issue. And I think there are a lot of areas where the things that we fight for when we're focusing on Bitcoin, the things we talk about here, are so important that don't often get enough. There's not enough discussion, focused on them. And so I think this is really important. But speaking of, to shift topics, I'm curious if there are any updates on Simply Bitcoin. Is there anything do we know any more information? Has their account been affected? Is it just that stream still?
It's just that one stream.
That's wild.
Their channel is still up and running.
I've never even heard of that, a live stream being cut midstream.
Oh, we experienced it, P. It was before you joined the crew, but yes, we've experienced that.
That's fucking wild to me. I mean, we talk about some crazy shit on this show. Like,
we haven't hit the hot buttons. Then that means we're not doing a good enough job getting to the depth.
I guess.
Or they just label us as crazy conspiracy theorists, and we get a pass.
All right, my friends. We're a few minutes over. Appreciate you sticking with us while we talk about Iran and everything that's going on there. As the title of this show would suggest, which we have not yet talked about, the larger macroeconomic environment is fucking crazy right now. There is so much going on in the world. That does not change the fact that one Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. If you are interested in acquiring Bitcoin because it represents sound money, decentralized finance, truly decentralized, none of this bullshit like DeFi, kind of pandering that you see in the shitcoin space. If you are interested in that at 50K, at 60K, you should be infinitely more interested in it now at these lower prices. I certainly am. I am continuing to stack. This is a bear market, my friends. And do not let that dissuade you or inspire fear in you. Do not succumb to the Malthusian fear spells that the government and that the central banking systems of the world are trying to cast over your mind to occlude your vision. Stay focused, stay humble, stack sats. This is the time to invest in your future. More than when we were in the bull market, the bear markets are the time. Do it now or your family will hate you forever. It's that simple. On that note, my friends, let's call it a show. Have an amazing weekend. I want to remind everyone here, please like and subscribe this channel. It's how we reach more and more people. The way this works, of course, is the algos that control distribution of these systems. The more people that engage with them, the more actively they reach more people. My personal goal is to bring Bitcoin to as many people as possible, as rapidly as possible per unit time. That's what we're trying to do here. Help us do that. If you're interested in going to Bitcoin Amsterdam, which is going to be incredible, I think it's in like 19 days or something, which sounds fucking crazy. You can use code BMLive on the website to save 10%. We've got the incredible censorship resistant issue of the magazine, which is extremely relevant given the conversation we were having today. more relevant than ever in today's world. It is going to continue being relevant. It's going to become even more relevant. So make sure that you have that, that you read the stories, whether it's on bitcoinmagazine.com or subscribe to the physical magazine, which is awesome. We talked yesterday about the Orange Party issue, which is going to be coming out soon. Very excited for that as well. Stay humble, stack sats, and we will see you next week, my friends.
Q, can you give us a reading from the magazine?
Oh yeah, choose the one with the biggest words and the most complicated, just to really send us off on a good note. I may or may not hit the air horn.
Okay. Black hats and familiar bags.